Joining me right now are Afghanistan veterans turned lawmakers, Florida Congressman Michael Waltz and Brian Mast. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your service to our country, for all that you have done and continue to do. My condolences for our fallen heroes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Maria.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congressman Walsh, let me kick this off with you and get your reaction to the apparent reportedly military strike that the U.S. has taken again this morning after the strike which hit the planners of this debacle.
Well, I'm glad this strike happened. We received briefings just a few days ago that suicide vests and car bombs were descending on Kabul airport, which many of us have said from day one is not defendable. We should have been in BAGRAM. However, it's also worth noting that Biden is removing all of these assets, the drones, our capability to run sources on the ground and have eyes and ears on the ground. It's all soon to be gone in just 48 hours. So that will leave us going forward with no troops on the ground, no embassy, and having to send drones from halfway around the world. We're going to be blind. And if we couldn't even trust the Taliban to protect an airport and screen terrorists, how the heck is this administration looking to them to protect our homeland and to keep Al-Qaeda and ISIS from plotting and planning to hit America again? The end of the day, Maria, we're going to have to go back. It's going to be far worse than September 10th, 2001, because we gave away all our bases. Our allies are being hunted down, and now we have a terrorist army armed to the teeth with American equipment.
This is such an incredibly bad outcome and mistake. Congressman Waltz, you continue to fight for America's rights in your role right now, but we know that you also led the look for Bowe Berghdal back when you were in Afghanistan. I want to get back to that. And Congressman Mast, I want to talk about this decision to close Bagram Air Base, because I know that this was a decision of the Obama administration, and many people say that his former national security team have their fingerprints all over that, in particular Susan Rice, as well as Anthony Blinken and others. But let's talk about what you've done and the incredible service that you've given to our country. You lost both your legs. You lost a finger. It was your job when you were in Afghanistan throughout 2010 to find the bad guys, roll them up, and put them in prison. Your personal reaction, because it has to be personal for both of you, to see these prisoners now let out.
Maria, it goes so far beyond personal. You said I lost 2 legs and a finger. That's a scratch. That's the truth. That's a scratch compared to what Michael's and our friends suffer. And I could give you my list on my arm right here, right? 3 of my friends right there. They gave their lives rolling up these people that were left out. Another one of my friends right there gave his life rolling up these people that President Biden let out. More friends right there gave their lives rolling up these people that President Biden left out. It's so far beyond the injuries, and you see the sacrifices that are now taking place because of those that were let out, that are saying this is the way that we need to go out there and seek retribution against the Americans. This has to be the red line for America, is that we will retreat no further. We will not allow this administration to retreat any further. We are Americans. Those people that gave their lives, our friends, and those that gave their lives this week, none of them ever believed that we would seek peace by negotiating with a white flag of surrender. That is not who we are as Americans. That is my reaction. I literally cannot stand it when I think about every one of these friends and so many more.
We are looking at pictures of our heroes, our fallen heroes last week in Afghanistan. I want to show those pictures again and continue to tribute and cherish the lives of our heroes who fell last week. Congressman, these men and women were between 20 years old and 31 years old. One of them I know went right into the Marines right after high school. They were 10 Marines, 2 Army sergeants, and 1 Navy medic. Your thoughts on who we lost last week?
Well, Maria, I can tell you for a fact that so many congressional offices and private groups have had to step in to save Americans and to save our at-risk allies. We've had to step into the void because the White House isn't leading. And we were in direct contact with some of those Marines who were pulling grueling security during the day, and then in their few off hours were in contact with us and actually going out and helping pull Afghans into the wire and pull Americans into the wire. That's the kind of sacrifice that they were making. But we still have Americans out there. I was just in touch a few hours ago with Americans outside the gate in Kabul International. They can't get a hold of anyone in there. Biden has shut it down, and Americans are going to be left behind. And the Taliban are going to have a hostage bonanza at any time of their choosing. It's disgraceful and shameful.
Look,
and
I
Michael
know
and
that it was a priority for. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
That inventory that our U.S. service members are now having to fight against. We've used those weapons. We've carried those weapons across the battlefield. We know what they can mean in terms of harm, not just the improvised explosive devices and the suicide vests and the vehicle-borne IEDs, but the ordnance, the mortars, the anti-armor weapons, the body armor that they can use to protect themselves, the night vision that they now have that limit us from conducting nighttime operations that can help give us a little bit of an edge over those enemies, the surface-to-air assets that they now have that they can put down our assets that are in the sky. Michael and I know as well as anybody that inventory of the most advanced military weaponry that was given to them by President Biden makes this already inherently dangerous situation the gravest possible situation that our men could face, our men and women could face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to know about the Taliban, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. Obviously, these are ongoing and increasing threats. What can you tell us about about those groups? Should we be trusting the Taliban?
Maria, Biden's own intelligence, his own intelligence community just briefed us a few days ago that Taliban and Al-Qaeda are married at the hip. Al-Qaeda fully intends to come roaring back and to attack the homeland again. But you're going to see this administration start to try to draw false distinctions, and that the Taliban are good terrorists that we can deal with and we can work with them against the others. And anybody who has fought against these guys knows that's a bunch of garbage. They're all working together and they all aim to kill Americans.
And yeah. You both fought against these guys. Go ahead, Brian, before we take a short break.
The most holy word for Americans, any American, has to be the word freedom. That is the opposite of what every one of those terrorist groups by any name stands for. Al-Qaeda, Taliban, ISIS, ISIS-K. As Michael said, they're all joined at the hip. They're just running under a slightly different flag, a slightly different banner. We need to stand up for what Americans truly believe is our mantra, is our battle cry. That is freedom. We need to stand up for it with our last breath or not at all.
Well, then why would we take down such a strategically placed air base? I want to take a break and then come back to who's accountable. It's hard to talk about this in the smoke of war, the fog of war, but we must connect the dots to China, Iran, Pakistan, and the Obama administration. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are having a discussion this morning with Afghan veterans and Congressman Mike Waltz and Brian Mast. And Brian Mast, I want to ask you about what was behind the decision, in your view, to close down Bagram Air Base, because I know that this was a priority of the Obama administration, and many of his national security people are working for President Biden, and that includes Susan Rice and Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan. Your thoughts on why closing such an important strategically placed airbase was a good idea? That was our eyes and ears to China, to Pakistan, and I know that we invested $1 trillion in it.
Yeah, it's Bagram, it's the embassy, it's every other place, because their mantra was withdraw at any price because of political optics. Reach that 9/11 as your strategic objective, that 9/11 ceremony where they can have a celebration and make a to-do about it, to say they accomplished something political to get out, not a strategic objective of making America safer, getting our citizens out alive, making our service members in a safer world that they go out there and conduct their operations, making our homeland safer. No strategic objectives met. Their only strategy was to say, how can we make things politically better optically? That was their objective. And obviously, when they tried to do that, they made every aspect of geopolitics and safety across the globe in the most dire possible situation. That's what they actually accomplished.
Michael,
Michael
Maria, Waltz, your thoughts here. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that, Bagram Air Base was the only base in the world that we had sandwiched between China, Russia, and Iran, and that we could also strike these terrorist groups. The only one. Not a single country around Afghanistan has agreed to host an additional base. It's also just a few hundred miles from the Chinese province, Xinjiang province, where the Uyghurs are, and also where they're putting their new nuclear missiles. On top of that, there were over $1 trillion of rare earth critical minerals in Afghanistan that we could have had access to. And on top of that, India is now feeling even more isolated because the Taliban are aligned with Pakistan, aligned with China. But the biggest piece is the propaganda win here. The Chinese are already telling Taiwan, America won't stand with you. This is evidence. The Russians are telling the Ukrainians the same thing, and that at the end of the day, democracy and America's values lose. Jihad wins, authoritarian regimes win, and America will not stand with you.
This is such an enormous mistake. It cannot be underestimated. That's why I wanted to show that map in terms of the Uyghurs and the nuclear buildup. Real quick, look at this graphic. Who is going to take the hit? Who is going to be accountable for this mistake? All of these people who are working with Joe Biden, directing his actions, were in the Obama administration. Do you think we'll see anyone accountable for this massive mistake to close a Bagram Air Base?
We'll push, Maria, but under Pelosi.
Go ahead,
Brian.
They have to account for endangering 10,000 plus Americans, reckless endangerment of 10,000 plus Americans. That needs to be the charge.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Brian Mast, Mike Waltz, it's an honor to speak with you both this morning.